Hello and welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. I'm your host, Angela Marie Williams. As an entrepreneur and success coach, my mission is to empower you to realize your dreams and potential through transformational experiences. The purpose of this show is to inspire your positive change by learning from a community of those paving the way to a bigger, braver life. Welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. My name is Angela Williams. I am your host and success coach, helping individuals get to their bigger, braver life. And I'm so excited to welcome Sarah Bacerra today. And I'm going to have Sarah introduce herself. I'm so excited for y'all to hear her story and just all of the goodness that she brings. So take it away, Sarah. Tell us about you and the work that you do in the world.
All right. Thank you, Angela. Hi, everyone. And welcome to our conversation. Permission, Angela, to be a little bit messy and imperfect for the next
Absolutely. Granted, that's the way to go.
Okay, wonderful. Because we were talking right before we started about the big tell me about yourself question and how we never know how much or how little to reveal in that question. And so I said, I'm just going to reveal a lot. So yes. I am Sarah Bacerra. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am the founder of a company called Trailblazing in Color. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. But really to know my company is to know me and my story. I come from a multicultural background. I'm mixed race. My father is Black and my mother is white. And that really shaped a lot of my experience, as well as both of my parents coming from this very open. They were a part of the artist community. They came from these worlds that really did, and they were a multiracial couple coming from these worlds that really intersected. And so when I first heard the term intersectionality, which we're all much more comfortable with, but the idea that oppression sometimes comes in many forms, so does this idea of freedom. And so when it comes to my company, and the work that I'm here to do in the world, it is really helping people, especially those from underserved and marginalized communities, helping them find freedom. And we do that through community. We do that through, at Trailblazing in Color, we do it through peer advisory circles we call Trailblazer Circles. And we do it through coaching, really helping people live their biggest, bravest life. So when the opportunity came to be on your show, Angela, and just the work that you're doing in the world, I just felt so much alignment and we're not always able to feel that bravery in the moment, but when we have these conversations about what it looks like and create more opportunities to engage in courage over discomfort, that's when we really get to freedom. So I'm happy to be here and happy to be talking to you.
Okay, first of all, you're amazing. So y'all listening, please note, she told me she was nervous and she's just already out here killing it. So yay. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to point out too, that you talk about freedom, and that's one of my high values. So that's something that I'm talking to my community about. That's something that I very strongly value. And when I was in different situations in my life, that whether they're personal or work related, I found that was a piece that was maybe missing or not in its fullest expression for me. So I'd love to hear more about how you think of freedom and how you practice that in your daily life.
I think it ties and connects really well to Trailblazing in Color's values because they're so much aligned to my values because I created them. But the values really are around self-expression. So how able are you to be your authentic, full, true self in the spaces that you occupy? Mm-hmm. How much can you share that expression through words, through actions, through boundaries? And so self-expression takes so many forms, but how fully can you show up as you wherever you go? That is a form of freedom that so many of us do not have access to. The second piece would be freedom of tradition. So we're all coming in from different customs, from different heritage and religion, so many other pieces that make up who we are that we're kind of not allowed to talk about, especially now when things are so divisive and they feel very politicized. Even our belief systems and our stories of origin may feel like they're risky to share. And so freedom to be able to express yourself through the tradition of those that came before you, and the customs that mean so much and shape so much of who you are. That's piece number 2. That our third value is around joy. The freedom to feel joy, to cultivate joy, to revel in joy, and know that you are deserving and worthy of it, because that can be taken away from us so easily. And that cultivation piece is critical. So even the acknowledgement of joy and finding it and sourcing it wherever you can is so important. And then our fourth value is future generations. Everything that we should do, that we should be focused on as trailblazers, it's really to set the stage for our predecessors, our descendants, to feel better, to do better, and be able to achieve success no matter what they look like, where they come from, and how they operate in the world. So those are the 4 things that we define as the freedom pillars, so to speak.
Beautiful. Yes. And definitely I can see how so many of your values are tied into my values as well. I often really focused my mission and my vision on supporting people in the present so that they can show up and know better and do better and be better for those future generations, and really move the bar specifically for women. And I love that you have that open door for everyone, no matter what kind of expression they have. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm super excited. So tell us more about how you came up with Trailblazing in Color, how you started it. Tell us about the day-to-day now. I'd love to hear about your business and your work more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the past several years, well, at least the past 5 years, I've been focused. My work has transitioned into a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So much of my career has been in organizational development, professional development, leadership development within organizations to transform cultures. And to transform cultures, everyone has to be able to have equal access to success and to equity within organizations, but also within the world. And so in that transition from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint. So shortly after the 2016 election, I got involved with the Women's March San Diego chapter and remained on the board for 5 years and planned 4 marches, and including a fully virtual one, which was
wow
in 2021, and left as president of the organization. And so that got me so in touch with both the local issues that our community was facing, and that a lot of our marginalized populations were facing. And then also at scale, what are some of the national and global problems we're encountering as women, but also through this very clear-cut lens of intersectionality. We are not one thing, we are multiple things. And quite often, many of us are oppressed in multiple ways. So the intersection of those 2 things, my professional work suddenly getting to align to what I'm super passionate about. It's also very much shaped by my own experience. I mentioned I'm mixed race, multicultural family. My mother made it such a point to expose us to so many different stories, of which I am so grateful for. We would go to powwows. We would invite foreign college students to our house for Thanksgiving. I wouldn't, she would. I had
I love it.
But the ways in which she exposed me to different experiences and stories made me soon realize I have a very unique lens in this space, in this work. And because I straddle the intersection of so many things, I also identify as a lesbian. And so that component of my identity, again, back to intersectionality, the way I look at the world, I notice like people are very receptive to that. It's very come on in and very, let's understand you. Let's understand where you're at. Let's unpack that and get you to understand me. And then above all that, I am preceded by trailblazers. I have so many ancestors that were the firsts, the onlys, that have really left a mark on my own understanding of myself and the work I have to do to make sure that legacy does not end with me. And so it's very personal company, because it was founded on the stories of my own ancestors who have been trailblazers in their own right. The first Black elected official in York County, Pennsylvania, the first Black funeral home to start in that same area, because African Americans were burying their dead or having funerals in garages.
Mm.
And so these are my people, these are my ancestors, and I felt like it is really my duty to make sure that this work gets carried forward and gets amplified. And the thing about being a trailblazer is you're alone until you have a community, until you have support and people that are around you saying, hey, I know my situation's a little different, but this experience you're having is universal to this circle, and it's going to be okay. We're going to take care of each other. And that's what we're all about.
I could cry. Like, you're so amazing, living this legacy, living and carrying it on from your ancestors. I was going to ask you for examples too, because I love to hear the first and the onlys and the people who started all of this for you, your personal journey. I just love all of that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I wanted to kind of ask you about that point. Does it feel heavy sometimes carrying this on?
Yes. There are several times a week even where I'm spiraling at the level of responsibility that I put on myself. It's no one else's. I have unrelenting standards, as my therapist calls them. The product of a lot of things, but also generational things. Work twice as hard, get half as far. And I know I look the way I look, but I come from generations of that. And so it is instilled in me to work very, very hard and to achieve quickly too. So when I can't figure something out right away, or I feel like I'm still very much on my own, this learning journey myself, I don't have all the answers. And we're all kind of getting to ask questions that we've never been able to ask before. So it's this really amazing opportunity. And at the same time, you do not want to F it up.
Right. It's like, this is a great time to be alive, and also let's go. We got to, keep going forward no matter what happens. So thank you for your honesty. I think sometimes, as we're speaking and we're talking about even just our businesses or these passions, it can be easy to just kind of go into process and talk about the future and kind of, go in that way. But talking about the difficulty, I don't think we do that enough, especially as female entrepreneurs, and adding all, like you said, the intersectionality pieces too, the layers that come with this. So helpful to hear, empowering and inspiring. I might sometimes feel like I'm doing this on my own, but then I know you're over here, feeling that same thing, but we're both in this thing together that we're trying to advance humanity and really make a ripple effect to support our future generations with their freedom and the knowledge and all of the good things that we're trying to put out there. So, thank you so much for sharing that. That was great.
Advanced humanity. I like that.
I gotta be thinking big here. Yes, absolutely.
And I think that was such a catalyst for the company too, is I have that in so many spaces. I have with one friend, she's the founder of the Inclusion First Project. Her name's Carrie Sawyer. Name drop here so people can go check her out. Yeah. But she has in a lot of ways become my water cooler person. Yeah. So we're both working from home. We're both solopreneurs right now on the precipice of hiring, or she did just hire her first executive assistant. I'm on the precipice. Yes. Here we go.
You'll get there. Yes.
But to have a person where I can just text her and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes for a water cooler chat? And we can just talk about the really hard thing that if I had a coworker who understood exactly what I was going through, which she does, but just in she's facing the same things in different ways. It's so meaningful. And if you don't have that, like if I didn't have that, I would be spiraling. I have 100%. An amazing partner and we work side by side. Her desk is right there. Nice. And sometimes she is my coworker and sometimes we're in totally different worlds, but to have intentionally structured community that is going to support you and keep you from giving up, but also remind you to take care of yourself. And this is not easy and you can't do it overnight. The things I need to hear all the time. Right. You have much less of a chance of succeeding, or it's going to be a much harder journey to get there. and you'll
Mm-hmm.
probably do it, but you will break yourself on the way
Yeah.
there.
Yes. Thank you for that point. I'm regularly talking to my clients, and I know that we have wonderful support. We mentioned this in a previous episode, but Sarah and I were connected through the We Shall Be Millionaires, the club. We were connected through this group, which is so full of individuals who are, doing the damn thing, the same thing, right? Working a business, really going after that advancement of humanity, following their big dreams, helping people rise. I love all of that. And so there's so much support and inspiration, just kind of peeking in there, on Facebook here and there. But I love that like one-on-one connection where you can go to somebody and get the support that you need, bounce the ideas back, have them talk you off the ledge if there is a really hard day, because there is. And being able to build intentional community. That's what I'm talking to all my clients about, whether you're building a business or not. It's so important to have a person that you can bounce ideas off of, get a neutral perspective. I'm both a therapist and a coach. So I'm, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm always really in support of that. And I do believe there's a community out there for all of us. It's just, you have to find that fit. I'm so glad that we were able to connect in that way. For those listening who are really resonating with what we're saying, make sure that you have that person, that go-to, or that group, that network that you can reach over and get that support. So thank you so much for bringing that up. You're so right.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about the services that your company provides and kind of what your day-to-day looks like.
The day-to-day, the minute-to-minute. And that is why I need an executive assistant,
Yes.
Angela.
I hear you. You can do some broad strokes here.
But that's kind of also what I like about it. No 2 days are the same. On any given day, I'm coaching in corporate. I'm doing some group coaching and one-on-one coaching in organizations that are committed to making long-term changes, systemic changes in their organization, and want their leaders to have a little extra support, which is very significant when it comes to this type of systemic change. Also working with organizations in terms of workshops and some really focused on self-awareness and understanding the self to understand the world and receive the world in the way that's open and really allows for different experiences to come in. But the services that we're shifting to focus on is really working with intentionally created communities. And you can't necessarily do that in organizations all the time. It depends on the structure, but more so we're looking for those trailblazers, oftentimes diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners and leaders in organizations. But again, they are usually the firsts or the onlys in their position. And so they need that water cooler chat just as much as I do, and yet may not have any sort of community to turn to internally inside organizations. So that's where the Trailblazer Circles came in. And we're launching those very soon. So definitely I'll share some info towards the end here. But it is that once a month touch point, making sure that there's connection point, space to process issues and challenges, a space to ideate together and cultivate new solutions. And so it's part peer advisory group, part group coaching. And then the one-on-one coaching piece is when you need just a little more help or you want to have a little more privacy in processing your issues. I think there's so many advantages to being in community with others, more so even than one-on-one. But I do love working with individuals just as much, because then we can really, just hone in on what's going on in your world and make sure that we're addressing the specific things that you need out of each of our time. And then we're also launching a podcast, because the best way to get to know humanity is by hearing each and every person's story. Right. And so it will be focused on, again, first and onlys, sharing their trailblazing story, sharing the stories of the trailblazers that came before them, that really laid the foundation and the path. And then how are we all coming together to make the world a better place? I mean, especially women, and the data proves this. As soon as we become successful, the communities around us do so much better, because we're investing with our time, we're investing with our money and our resources back into the communities we occupy. And so it only serves us to come together and amplify impact, because everyone does better as a result. So those are some of the things that are on the horizon.
Well, okay, no big deal.
I need an assistant.
Preach,
Angela.
but seriously, yes, amazing. You're over here just casually advancing humanity, and not casually at all, right? Like, this is intentional. This is so necessary and needed. And you're right. The data behind women supporting their community when they rise, it's like we all do better when women do better. That's so amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. That's such an important point. I wanted to ask you what you think maybe some common traits, values, or characteristics of trailblazers, the trailblazers that you know. What are some of the common themes that they have between them?
Love that question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
The first word that comes to mind is resilience, and being able to take hard lessons and turn them into strength. So being able to come back from hard and blossom as a result. What else? I just think they're all so smart, and smart doesn't look one way. Intelligence doesn't look one way. They are innovators, they're solution seekers, and they have this way of influencing others that is rare and important. And above all, courage. They show up courageously every day, braver than the next, but braver than the one before.
Right.
And also, are starting to figure out that they can take a break sometimes too.
Yeah.
I think that's the other collective conversation that I'm so happy is happening amongst trailblazers. Is we're going to stick this out. We have to prioritize ourselves more than we have been.
Absolutely. And I just want to remark on how beautifully you speak, and I would love to hear your voice so much more and in bigger spaces. Tell me how you are incorporating that, taking a break, that taking care of yourself, because you've got a lot, right? You've got you're running a business, you're changing the world, you're, carrying legacy forward. That's a lot, right? How are you taking care of you and having some downtime and taking breaks and all of that good stuff?
I'm also raising 2 humans, which I didn't mention before. I'm a mom of 2 daughters. They're incredible and a big part of my purpose. That's why future generations is in our values. Yeah. But that's important whether or not you have children. Sure. But they are 11 and 8 years old. And so, yeah, it's a lot. Yes. But at the same time, it gives you so much more connection to pushing forward when you can be grounded in the work as a part of your identity and as a part of who you want to be and what you want to leave in this world. And so, but to your question around how am I taking care of myself? Some days are better than others. Some days I'm really great and I start with a yoga, like wake up stretch and do some meditation and listen to a just encouraging podcast. And some days from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., I'm running around like a crazy person. Yeah. And the way I am okay with that is I know what I'm working towards, and I know that there will be days like that, but they are getting fewer and fewer, and I'm doing that on purpose. And then when I do have recharge time, like this past Tuesday, I didn't have anything to do, and I worked a lot of the weekend. Mm-hmm. And so I took the day off. I went to breakfast with a friend. I took a long bubble bath in the middle of the day. And Beautiful. I know these sometimes can be superficial, but if you do, and it doesn't always have to be routine, but routine is very important too, but just taking advantage of the time when you can just say yes to yourself over everyone else and making that time more and more frequent. And what that looks like to you is very personal, but just make time for it. Make sure you do it.
Yes. Thank you. Again, preaching to the choir over here. So a lot of the things, I'm working with my clients on is making sure that we have a very extensive vision casting experience. So I want to make sure that they know their legacy, that they're very clear about that they're very clear on their direction, that they know what they want to leave in this world. And, I think that does make things okay. Like you said, we have a direction when we're on and we're ready to go. And we know that in order to get there, we have to take care of ourselves and have some of that downtime as well. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's so important. And I believe in that so firmly that I do that with essentially all of my clients. I think it's totally personal to us, whatever we deem that's appropriate. And, I call that kind of that intuitive leadership, when you wake up in the morning and you say, hey, you okay? How you doing? What do you need today? Maybe it is to do some stretching. Maybe it's I got to run out the door because I got to go do something real quick, right? Or maybe it's I'm sick and I cannot work today. I have to lay it back down. But yes, I think that's so important to be able to do that work, the important work that we do long term over a long period of time, and not burn out, because that's the other thing that I can't be having my folks do is burnout. We need you.
Oh, you frame that intuitive leadership, because and like I said, routine is good. Habits are essential, but sometimes you just have to listen to your body. And especially when you're an entrepreneur and you don't have sick days. And even when I did have sick days, I didn't take sick days. I had to be practically dying.
Yep.
But you really have to listen to your body, because otherwise there's no one else that's going to say stop. There's no one else that will say you are going to break down if you don't do something different immediately. And so I love that intuitive, you are self-leading, and that's what gets to self-care, but you have to lead yourself there.
Absolutely. And that taking a break and that giving yourself permission, I think the thing about, that entrepreneur spirit is that we are always excited for the next thing. We're always working. We always have a goal. And you're right. No one's going to come and tell you like, okay, it's time to stop now. It's time to rest. It's time to come back to work. And it's time to that is on you. And I can totally align with what you said about even when I was paid for my sick days. Like I really, there would be days I took a half sick day because I had so much work to do. Like I'd take a couple hours and then go right. So, it's that work ethic, but it's being able to balance that. And now I couldn't fathom, that's a stretch a little bit, but I have done a lot of work to get myself in a place where I can take a full day and not feel guilty or feel like I'm missing something, or feel like, oh, I'm letting someone down by not working my butt off right now, even though, I'm ill or whatever. So yes, it's practicing that intuitive leadership every single day.
Love it.
Yes, love that. So tell me how you personally define success.
I think it goes back to freedom. Success is freedom, and success is not just yours to achieve. It's the systems that you exist in, and it's the possibilities that are either given or taken away from you. And so it's freedom to decide how you want to live your life, to feel safe and secure financially. And yeah, there's so many factors to that. But when you get to freedom, I think that's success, because there are so many material things that we think are success and external definitions. But when it comes to what I feel like we're all at the end of the day trying to get to, it's freedom to structure our days, to structure our lives the way that we want to.
I totally agree with you. And I love that we approach that freedom definition in so many facets. So when I think about freedom, think about it in the way what's important to me is freedom of time. So I can structure my day how I want, freedom of money. So I don't have somebody else telling me how much I can earn. Like there's no cap. I can kind of earn how much I want or not, right? That's my choice. And that freedom of choice. So being able to, make the choices that align with me. I think you also talked about that freedom to show up as your true authentic self. There's just so many things that I think that fall under that freedom umbrella. And I think it's important for everyone to get their own definition of what success looks like and what does that freedom look like for each of us? Because I think that's got to be a little part, of that.
You get to define it for yourself. The fun part, the hard part, the part that takes a lifetime. But you get to define it.
Yes. And like you said, I believe it's all very personal to us, what our values are, what our legacy is, what our goal is, what our vision is. And that's the thing that we need to make sure we know clearly and that we stick to so that we feel in alignment and we're able to do the best work that way.
I love getting to talk about what means so much to me and what it's taken me a lifetime to get to. I think for so many of us, even though our business is about one thing, it's really about, it's taken us our whole lives to get here, to get to this place, to speak out loud the things that we believe in and that we're so passionate about. And when we get to do that, it becomes such an important part of our journey. So thank you for letting me speak about my journey today.
Yes. And I have one more question, because I think this is a very important part that you just highlighted. And you wrote it down. I'm looking at your notes too. And you wrote this down. You said, finding my voice and identity has been a lifelong journey. And now your company is focused on helping others find theirs and increase their impact. Such important and needed work. But when I'm talking to a lot of women, clients, individuals in general, there's a common theme of having that difficulty and truly finding their voice and embracing that and sharing the message on their hearts. Was there a defining moment for you when you were like, oh, I feel like I can just speak this? Or would it be that culmination of a series of moments? Or is it still a journey for you to this day?
Yeah, it's still a journey, but I've come such a long way. I think back to, and I've heard a lot of this in conversation, understanding who I was as a child and what I was like, because you don't always remember your youngest self, especially before I went to school. And before I went to school, I was gregarious, I was loud, I was with my family all the time. So it was safe people. It wasn't out in public, but like I had my safety and I could be my full self. And then I went to school and I don't think I spoke again until late high school. I mean, I'm not raising my hand. I'm not putting myself out there. It was also being a little brown girl in a space that we didn't have as much representation as we do now. We still got some ways to go, but constantly feeling like I could never say the thing that I really felt, never could say what I really felt. And I think like many who find their voice, it comes from a place of rage, of I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yep.
And for me, it was about women's rights and the oppression there, and especially becoming a mom and seeing that no matter how much you want to feel like you're equitable, things are equal at home. And even though it looks way different than your parents' generation, you still see all of these clear-cut inequities that are just inherent in our systems. And so that's when I got involved with Women's March. That's when I started to speak on stages, even though, I'm still that person who is very introverted and look at me, my hands are like clasping just thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's also why I think I have such a love for bright colors and expression through clothing, is because it's a way for me to engage in conversation. Like when someone says something, acknowledges my bright color, it's like, oh, I can talk to you. Because otherwise it still takes me a while to work up the courage to say things out loud. Yes. And so now being pushed because of rage, because of anger, because of not feeling okay being quiet anymore, or just out of absolute necessity, I think everyone needs to find their rage point. What is it you care so deeply about that you will fight for? And then use that as the catalyst for everything, all the ways in which you want to use your voice and your true expression, because everyone deserves to be seen and known.
Wow. Are you writing a book, or like, hello, this is all the most gorgeous words I've ever heard. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important for people to see and hear your story and your experience, but also to know that, even this individual, right? You are leading and growing and doing so many things of high impact. And yet, you're still showing up bravely every day, because it's scary. It can be scary to do that. So what an amazing testament to living your bigger, braver life. I didn't even ask you that, but I think you pretty much spoke on that the entire time.
Thank you.
So thank you for doing that, because what would happen if you didn't say anything, if you didn't find out those rage points, if you didn't open your mouth, if you didn't start this company, if you didn't pursue that passion in your heart? What we wouldn't have all the amazing work and the messaging that you're sharing now, and you and the example that you're setting for being that authentic self and finding that freedom. So thank you so much. That's so helpful to hear. And as we're kind of ending on this, what advice would you give others who are looking to use their voice? What advice would you give them?
Well, we've been talking so much about community. You need to find your people, the people who you feel safe in, or you can cultivate that safety to start saying the things, testing the things. And then, just, I think it's support. I think it's a journey to find out who you truly are. So do the work on yourself and carve out that time, because it's so important. I didn't start really learning who I was until long after I had my first child. And then I forgot. I was like, did I ever really know?
Right.
And then the answer was, no, I don't think I ever knew. Now it's such an opportunity for me to really find out, based on my own experiences, based on my heritage, based on so many things that make up who I am. What is it that I believe in, and what is it that I truly care about? So giving yourself, again, back to permission to understand and invest in you, and understanding you and your story and the things that make you strong.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of that. It's the awareness, the willingness, the investment in yourself. That's how you're going to get to that bigger, braver life. That's how you're going to own your voice. That's how you're going to share your message with the world, is knowing and doing. If folks want to work with you, how would they go about contacting you and setting that up?
Yeah, the website is trailblazingincolor.com, spelled exactly as you would in American English.
Yes.
COLOR. Trailblazingincolor.com. My email, I'd love to connect with anyone and stay in touch if you want to continue this conversation, because it means so much to me in a number of ways. But you can follow me on Instagram at trailblazingincolor, Sarah, Sarah, at trailblazingincolor. Hit me up.
Yes.
And we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook too, but Instagram, LinkedIn, and the website and my email, I check those most frequently until I have an assistant. The name of the episode, I think, is "You Need an Assistant." No, name it what you will.
Yes. Teamwork makes the dream work. How about that?
Teamwork does make the dream work.
Thank you so much, Sarah. You have been absolutely amazing. We will put all the ways to contact Sarah in the show notes, and we're looking forward to serving you, whether that's Sarah's Trailblazing in Color company, whether you want that personal support to find your bigger, braver life, your vision with me. We are welcoming you with loving and open arms, and we will catch you in the next episode.